Culture gaps. Culture gaps. Culture gaps. Culture gaps. Culture gaps.
Welcome, everybody, to Culture Gaps, the podcast where we talk about movies that we as film buffs have not seen, and people are usually pretty surprised to find that out. My name is Gregg. I'm here with my co-host, Mike.
What up, y'all?
We're here to talk to you today about movies.
Movies, yes.
So, what Mike and I have done is we've compiled lists of movies that we have not seen. And
Scientifically.
the other one has.
Through a scientific process.
Through the scientific method, we created a list. One list is a list of movies I've seen that Mike has not. Another list is movies that Mike has seen, but I have not. And the final list is movies that neither of us have seen.
It's like a Venn diagram.
Not really, but yeah. So we're going to be going through each episode. We'll be selecting a movie from each list, one episode at a time. In this episode, we're going to start with movies that Mike has not seen.
Yeah. Disclaimer. I'm an uncultured swine. Like, I watched a lot of trash, haven't seen a lot of important cultural movies. And Greg hasn't seen a lot of trash, so this is where the things kind of align.
Right, yeah, exactly. So I have selected 3 films from Mike's list.
There's a choice.
There is a choice because I want to make sure that this is going to be a movie that you at least have some context for. So something that you have heard of, or people talk to you about it, or you have some sort of idea in your mind of what it's going to be.
Deal. Hit me.
So my first choice is a film that is beloved by the film snob community, or at least it was at the time it came out.
Oh, the anticipation.
It is called Amélie.
What?
French film.
Yeah. Got that. Your boy's French. Here's what I know about Amélie.
Yep.
I've seen the poster and the cover of Amélie. And I can see it quite vividly in my mind.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
With that girl with the black hair, kind of like, looks a little pretentious looking at you. Maybe a hipster herself. Kind of cursive writing, looks French. Yellow background or pink? Can't remember that. That is all I know about this movie. No one has ever spoken to me about this movie.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. This was my first choice because I think it's the movie. It's a movie that I think most people would have context for, but it really is more of like you would only know about it if you're the type of person who's going out of your way to try to watch movies that were well reviewed in the early 2000s.
Wow.
Next on the list,
2
is a movie that was a really big cultural thing at the year it came out, but I don't think you were born.
Oh, okay.
Although it might be the year you were born. I don't know.
You make it sound like that matters. Like, I'm older than you.
Were you born in 1988?
I was
No,
born
I'm just...
Yes, in 1988.
Okay, yeah, so it came out the year you were born.
Wow. So you think I watched it, like, when I was just born?
No, I'm just saying that you wouldn't have been aware of its release. Like, you weren't...
Yeah, I was
you
a
wouldn't
baby.
have been this is why I established this. To say that you would not have been aware of its release, you just would have heard about it retroactively.
Right. So this isn't because I was uncultured, it's because I was a baby.
Well, you probably did hear about it as an adult, just retroactively.
What if I've seen this movie? I don't even know what it is. Well, that's the whole point. That's the whole point. I haven't seen this movie.
I know for sure. You told me you haven't seen it.
All right, maybe I haven't. I told you I haven't, so that when I saw it, I had a bunch to say.
No, you haven't seen it.
All right, hit me with the title, man.
All right. It won Best Picture of the year it came out.
I've seen every Best Picture movie.
No, you haven't.
Except this one.
No, you haven't.
No, I haven't.
Is a movie called Rain Man.
Oh my God. I've heard about this movie so much, but because I've heard so much about it, I felt like I never had to see it.
Is that true?
Like, it's just one of those movies
You've
that
heard
people
about
are
it
like,
so
they
much?
make references like, oh, it's like Rain Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, so let me ask you this. Okay, this is exactly what I wanted. I want it to be a movie like this where you are aware of it in some way but never saw it.
Well,
so I'm curious, what do you think? What is the reference that people always make?
okay, well, here's the issue, is that I always get this movie also confused with another movie I haven't seen, which I assume is the same movie with different actors, and that's Good Will Hunting.
Oh,
So they're identical movies to me.
they are not the same movie at all.
Well,
Came out
I
like
imagine,
a decade apart.
Yeah, Good Will Hunting's definitely a ripoff, right? Of Rain Man.
No.
I don't know who's in Rain Man.
Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise is in that movie?
Yep.
Okay.
He's actually great in it too.
So here's how I imagine Rain Man plays out, based on not knowing much about Rain Man and what people have told me.
Great.
Is that there is some sort of genius, right?
Sure.
Well, you're not going to confirm these facts for me?
I'm not going to
Okay.
confirm anything. I don't want to sway your perception of the movie going into it. I
All
don't
right.
want to confirm or deny anything ahead of time.
There's some sort of crazy genius who's maybe a little eccentric. This is where I'm going to mix it with the other movie, maybe. Does he do a lot of math or something? I don't know. Does he do science? Maybe he's in the rain at some point. I don't. That's about it. Dustin Hoffman sounds right when you said it, but Tom Cruise sounds wrong. So I'm going to go on the assumption that you're lying about one of them. And Tom Cruise is in
that
the
would
movie.
be interesting. Wouldn't that be interesting if I were lying about the stars of this film?
Yeah, so maybe they introduce this guy, show how weird he is, but also how much of a genius he is, and somehow he helps with some big thing that he's a part of, despite the establishment not liking his crazy ways.
Yep. The establishment. Which establishment?
I don't know. I don't know what the movie's about.
All right. Interesting.
Do you like it?
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I loved it when I saw it.
Wow.
But I will say I expect my opinion to change when I rewatch it.
Okay.
Looking back on it, I'm like, I don't think this movie is as good as I remember it. I think it might be slightly offensive, to be honest.
Oh, boy. Does he have some sort of mental disability?
Maybe.
Is the third movie Good Will Hunting?
No.
Okay, that would have been crazy.
Yeah. Well, because Good Will Hunting I want to save for the actual podcast, because I think that'll be a good one.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to choose movies that I don't think will be that interesting.
Oh. So what do you got?
The third one?
Yeah.
Well, this was like a backup in case the first two failed, but it was going to be It was Aquaman.
Oh.
Just because I figured you probably would have heard something about that because it came out in the last like 5 years.
Yes, so I've never seen any. This is with the
Jason Momoa.
Yeah, I have not seen anything with him yet as Aquaman.
Yeah.
None of the DC stuff. Mostly because it all looks terrible.
It mostly is.
Okay.
Aquaman's not bad though.
And I don't think it'll live up to the Aquaman in Entourage. So
Big Entourage fan.
no, I'm really not. Especially if you watch it now and you're like, this should have been canceled. Like,
So you're watching Entourage now, is what you're
no,
saying.
but my wife is.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if we should do that one. I'm kind of interested in this Rain Man thing because
Yeah, that's what I wasn't even offering it as a real option. We're doing Rain Man.
I mean they're essentially the same movie, right? Just in different ways.
Aquaman and Rain Man.
Yeah.
It's both
They're both about men in
superheroes.
water, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, Rain Man controls the rain.
Yeah.
Aquaman controls the ocean.
The Aqua.
The Aqua. The Aqua de Joe. He just controls fragrance.
Oh. So I need to figure out what Rain Man is about.
No, you just need to watch it.
I have to? I can't like cliff note this?
No, you cannot cliff note this.
All right.
In fact, you're not only going to watch it, I would like you to take notes while you're watching it.
You want me to take notes on Rain Man?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when you come back, we're going to need to talk about stuff. And if you don't take notes, you're going to forget what you want to talk about.
I'm going to be passionate about it. That's one thing.
Yeah, you better be.
Ismith, do you think I will like it?
No.
Interesting. But you loved it. But you think I won't?
Yeah. I don't think you'll hate it. I think you'll just find it a little boring. And here's the other thing. I haven't seen it in a long time. And as I told you, I expect it to be kind of dated and somewhat offensive. So there's a chance you might come out of it being like, no, fuck that movie.
Here's what I want you to do for this.
Yeah.
Is I want you to rate the movie before you rewatch it and then rate it after.
Yeah, I'll write us like a really, really, really brief review of my memory of it, and then I'll write another one afterward. I'll let you know what I think.
That sounds great.
It's been a long time, but this was one of my favorite movies. I have it on DVD. It's like one of like 15 movies I actually bought on DVD because I loved it that much.
Wow. You only own 15 DVDs?
At this point, yeah.
Wow. I own none anymore. I gave them all away. But
yeah.
I had a lot. Ones that you would hate.
I do feel like Rain Man, though, is a good pick for cultural consciousness kind of stuff. I feel like there's going to be at least 2 moments in the movie where you'll be like, oh, that's what that's from?
Really? Like there's going to be some sort of cultural reference that I've been missing this whole time that I didn't realize was Rain Man?
Right. Yeah, you'll be like, oh, I've seen this parodied before. I didn't realize this was a Rain Man parody.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm still mind blown that Tom Cruise is in that movie. Is that weird? Like, am I supposed to know that?
I guess he never really got much attention for it because Dustin Hoffman's performance in that movie is like so big, it kind of overshadows everything. But yeah, I mean,
all right.
Yeah, I think people really remember Dustin Hoffman more than Tom Cruise, but I actually think Tom Cruise is really good in the movie.
Wow.
Maybe even better than Dustin Hoffman. I don't know. We'll find out.
Is he like, see, all I'm picturing is that he's just Jerry Maguire in this movie.
This is pre-Jerry Maguire. This is like...
Well, just point of
still
reference.
Still really young.
Point of reference, I've also never seen Jerry Maguire.
Oh, great.
But
I'll add that to the list.
I know Show Me the Money.
I mean, Show Me the Money is more of like a Cuba Gooding Jr. moment in that movie. But anyway, I would say that Tom Cruise's performance in Rain Man is closer to his performance in Magnolia.
I've seen it.
You haven't seen Magnolia?
No.
I'll add that to the list too. Gee, have you just like not seen any Paul Thomas Anderson movies?
Who's Paul Thomas
Anderson?
Anderson?
You haven't seen Boogie Nights.
Nope.
And you haven't seen Magnolia.
Nope.
Did you see There Will Be Blood?
Yes. Wait, Paul Thomas Anderson. That's your boy Paul Dano.
Well, yeah, Paul Dano is in that one Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
Yeah, I've seen that movie once, even though I owned it on DVD. Like, I bought it thinking I really liked this movie and then never wanted to watch it again.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those kind of movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, he also did The Master, which I never saw.
The Master.
Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh, I love Joaquin Phoenix.
It's like about Scientology.
But I haven't seen it. Wait, Tom Cruise isn't in that one?
He is not in that one.
All right. What was Tom Cruise doing in this time? Like, I just missed his stuff.
In 1988?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
He was young. It was like Top Gun era.
I never saw that either.
Yeah, me neither.
I think I avoided Tom Cruise for a long time.
Yeah, I hated him for a long time.
But I still have seen a lot of Tom Cruise movies. I think he's actually doing decent now.
He's all right.
But That's just me.
He has one thing that he does now.
Run.
That's the thing. Like all his movies are the same.
Action sci-fi.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's good and like he's good at what he does, but all of those movies, like I can't keep them straight.
Well,
Jack Reacher, Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow is what I was about to say. Is what I actually think is really good of all of these.
Oh, it's okay.
Wow,
it's fun. It's a fun movie.
It was very fun.
It's not gonna blow you away. It's fun.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna watch Rain Man. I suppose.
So am I. We got plenty of time.
And then I'm gonna have an opinion on it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take some notes.
Yep. We'll hear all your thoughts.
You're not gonna ask me trivia, are you? I'm not gonna have to like.
No, I'm gonna give you trivia.
Like you're gonna tell me facts about it I didn't know.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna ask me if I know those facts first.
No. I'll tell you. I'll just tell you facts about the movie.
Sounds like something Rain Man would do.
Maybe you know more than you think.
Maybe I do. Maybe I've seen it.
Maybe. We'll find out.
We'll find out after I've seen it.
All right. Well, we're going to go watch that movie.
And we'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
Culture Gap.
All right. So, we're here to talk Rain Man.
Rain Man.
You finally watched it.
Wow.
And I'm so curious to hear your take on this movie.
Oh,
so before we jump into it, let's just do a quick refresh on what you thought this movie was going to be going into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could probably play a little soundbite here of what I said. Yeah.
Well,
all right.
or you could just recap it.
I believe what I had said was it's probably about some eccentric guy who's really smart, and there's some sort of establishment. I think I said, and that he ends up working for the establishment, and even though his ways are different, he works his way up. People end up liking him.
Yeah.
Needless to say,
that's what the movie's about. You pretty much nailed
spot on.
Yep.
Only I had no idea that this was a movie about an autistic man. So
that's really interesting that your understanding of the movie Rain Man did not involve autism in any way.
It's like not something that came up.
Yeah, it's like sort of the defining trait of this movie.
Wow. Yeah, that was I don't know how I got away my life not knowing that. But yeah. I did. But that makes it more interesting because now I've got feelings about this movie.
Yeah.
The second biggest surprise, finding out that this movie was the Best Picture winner. I just found that out today.
Oh yeah, I have even more trivia for you. Did you also know it was the highest grossing film of 1988?
Having seen this movie now in 2022,
yep,
I find that ridiculous.
You don't think a movie like this, just a quiet character study about an asshole Wall Street kind of guy and his autistic brother going on a journey together across the country, you don't think that would outgross like a Marvel movie?
Not at all. Half the country wouldn't watch it because it's too woke. Like
too woke. Yeah. In what way is this movie woke?
They'd be like, because they would all think that they're like just like Tom Cruise.
There's just someone with autism in it, so they're like, why is everyone got to be autistic in movies these days?
Yeah, it's just like, well, because they all relate with Tom Cruise. They're like, why do I have to learn to be different? You know, why do I have to be a decent human being? I feel like there's been so much media about like autistic people since this that it's become more normalized for people. So seeing this now is kind of weird. But
yeah, I'll also say the watching it now with how much our understanding of autism has changed over the last 30 years or so, 35 years. is very interesting. Like when Tom Cruise brings Raymond to a doctor, and the nurse is just like, this says he's artistic, and he's like, no, he's autistic. She's like, I'm afraid I don't understand. Like, she has no idea what that means. In this day and age, I don't think there's any nurse in our country who would ask what autistic means.
Yeah, there shouldn't be many adults in general who need to ask what that is anymore.
Yeah. But there were also some weird things, like they're like, he doesn't understand the concept of money. It's just like, I feel like autistic people understand.
Yeah.
This dude watches People's Court all day. That can't be that interesting if he doesn't understand the concept of money. He can understand the concept of the judicial system.
and like, he's super good at math. Like,
right.
It's just math. Like, it's money. But no, there's a whole point where he's like calculating money, and I'm like, I thought he doesn't understand money.
Right.
But,
yeah, I don't know. I guess he doesn't understand the units of dollars and cents is what they get into. When that doctor just sort of like makes it immediately when they show up to the doctor, he just like starts making Raymond do math problems. He's just like, oh yeah, this guy, he's an autistic savant. He's really good at math. Let's make him do a bunch of math.
Yeah. I will say, this kind of made me think back to when I was in high school. There was an autistic kid who, at the time, autism wasn't really talked about at all back then. Mm-hmm. Wow, I feel old now.
Yeah, you went to high school in 1988 when this movie came out.
Yeah. Oh God. But there was this kid who was autistic, and he was kind of an outcast at school, unfortunately. But he would always come up to you. Like, he wasn't in my grade. But I never formally met him. But he would still come up to me and everyone and immediately say, Mike Morin, your birthday is March 9th, 1988. I'd be like, first of all, I don't know you. How do you know this? Where did you get this information?
Yeah.
It's like, about like, how are you retaining every single person's birthday that you just like come across? And then like years later, he'll be like biking down the road in Granby. Like, you'll see him randomly still. And he will still come up to you and tell you your birthday. I saw him at the mall, like,
wow,
10 years after high school. And he comes up to me. He's like, Mike Moore, on your birthday, March 9th, 1988. And I'm like, wow, that is awesome. So it's weird to think, like, and thinking about that, he could do that. Like, that is like the single best, like, performance of mental like memory I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, there are a lot of autistic people who are capable of some pretty amazing things, like drawing skylines from memory after seeing them once or something. Actually, interestingly, that gets me into some trivia about this movie. I wanted to tell you about the background of this film. I think is fascinating.
Really?
Okay, so the origin of this movie is that it was originally written with the brothers Dennis Quaid and Randy Quaid in mind for the lead characters. And the character of Raymond was written as a happy and friendly, just mentally challenged guy. Not specifically autism, not a savant, and he's like super outgoing and happy and friendly.
Well, the nurses didn't know. So.
Yes. If the nurses don't know, the screenwriters don't know.
Right.
So Dustin Hoffman signs on to play Charlie, the brother, the Tom Cruise role. And he decides, after seeing a documentary about autistic people doing these sort of amazing things, like what we were just talking about, there was a guy who I think was playing concertos from memory or something like that. And it blew Dustin Hoffman away. He was so amazed by the fact that people like this existed that he demanded to switch roles and that the other character be completely rewritten to be this like withdrawn, sort of antisocial autistic savant. He fought so hard for this that one of the producers on the film actually quit. Because he was like, this isn't even the movie that we were trying to make originally. And then then Tom Cruise signs on, they start making the movie, and Dustin Hoffman has basically just no faith in his own performance. It goes to the director and asks to be fired. He's like, I don't think I'm doing any good. Replace me with someone. Get Richard Dreyfuss or something. I'm not doing any good. The director, Barry Levinson, doesn't fire him, tells him to keep going. But Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise don't really have a lot of faith in the movie. They keep calling it Two Schmucks in a Car while they're in production because they just think it's going to be this terrible movie that's going to be a complete flop. But They rehearse everything to death. They're just constantly rehearsing, I think, because they felt like they had to elevate the movie out of what it otherwise would have been if their performances weren't really good. And I think it worked.
So Dustin Hoffman is responsible for this movie being
pretty much
like so impactful.
Yeah,
it's crazy to me that he comes in so passionately about switching everything up that a producer quits and then has no faith in it at all.
Yeah, then he immediately tries to quit.
Switch it all up. I'm not doing this movie unless you do it my way.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think my way's going to work, guys. Fire me now.
Exactly. After it's already been done.
Wow.
I mean, in the end, I guess he was right because, again, as I said, it was the highest grossing film of 1988 and the Best Picture winner at the Oscars that year.
Yeah.
And Dustin Hoffman won Best Actor.
Yeah, I will say that was something that stood out to me was Dustin Hoffman was phenomenal. I did feel a little uncomfortable about him playing an autistic person.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it.
I think it's this really interesting thing. So I was nervous to rewatch this movie. So my background with this movie is this was one of my favorites in high school. I really loved it. I thought Dustin Hoffman was so good in it. Dustin Hoffman was my favorite actor in high school. And I thought this was amazing. But then looking back on it now...
What were you doing in high school? Like, this is your Dustin Hoffman and Rain Man.
I thought I was 50 when I was 15.
Wow.
That's what Jeremy says. And it's true. I just really, I just, for whatever reason, just always responded to, I don't know, more mature narratives.
That's fair. I mean, I was real into Eminem and 8 Mile. I was the Tom Cruise character in high school, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the other thing. Well, yeah, I guess you're a couple years older than me. 8 Mile was like when I was in 6th grade. I wasn't allowed to watch that.
Yeah, see, my dad also loved M&Ms, which was
nice.
Looking back on it, like if I knew the word chuggy back then, my dad's liking M&M.
Right. Yeah, if your dad likes the rapper that you like, it's probably not a great sign.
But I feel like Dustin Hoffman playing an autistic person was kind of like me specifically liking the one white rapper. It just had that feeling. Like, I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, like why am I zooming in on? Well, let's also, I mean, we can also acknowledge that I've always that I'm I'm into bears and older men and whatnot. So there was also probably an aspect of that as well, where the actors I was watching most closely in movies tended to be like older character actors and stuff. So the movies that I responded to more tended to be sort of like the indie stuff where a character actor is playing a leading role. But regardless, I was nervous with this movie to rewatch it because I was like, oh God, this Dustin Hoffman performance, is this going to be awful now? Like by 1988 standards, it was like worthy of an Oscar, but now is it just going to be offensive? Like, is he just going to be doing a caricature of someone with autism? And I actually think he's pretty successful at not being a caricature.
Yeah.
I think there are still moments of it where it feels weird to watch someone who doesn't have autism pretend to have autism. Like
that's what's weird to me because I've seen shows now that like have autistic people playing autistic people. Like they're just being themselves. Like I don't it's weird that like going back and seeing him play this is weird, but he did a good job. Like,
yeah, agreed.
Undeniable. So I didn't feel that way. I slightly felt it was weird that he wasn't. That's about it.
The one other piece of context that I think sort of helps gel everything we're just talking about is that Dustin Hoffman based this performance primarily on one guy named Kim Peek, who Dustin Hoffman spent a year just hanging out with this guy, just spending time with him, studying his mannerisms and stuff like that, and just based the performance completely on this one guy, basically just trying to do an impression of this guy, which I think is probably part of why it's so successful. And it actually got to the point where Dustin Hoffman gave his Oscar trophy to Kim Peek after he won, because he was like, look, man, I was just doing an impression of you. But his goal, I guess, was to raise awareness for how incredible, autistic savants are. Yeah,
that whole story kind of actually changed my view of it more. Like, it's not offensive because of his intentions, for sure. Like, you having told me that story and that he gave away his Oscar to this guy as well, like, just adds up to the point where, like, no, he's just a good dude. Like, just bringing awareness to this thing.
Yeah, I mean, Dustin Hoffman is not really a good dude, but yeah.
I know nothing about Dustin Hoffman. I mean, he's your favorite actor.
He was my favorite actor, but
no, I'm claiming it now. He's your favorite actor.
He is canceled now.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Is he just like super mean to autistic people now? He like did a
exactly.
Flipped.
Yeah. No, he just like, I mean, it shouldn't be surprising given everything I told you about the changes he demanded for this film in the first place, but he just was always like a really strong personality on set, kind of abusive towards others, wouldn't play nice with others and would surprise them. Like, there's a story about in Kramer versus Kramer, there's a scene where he slaps Meryl Streep without telling her he was going to do it or asking beforehand. Just like in the middle of a take, he just slaps her full across the face. But also a lot of women came forward and were like, yeah, he was real inappropriate to me on set. So anyway.
Wow. So I didn't think he was still relevant when cancel culture came out. So
he wasn't really, which is probably why you don't know he even got canceled.
All right. Now I feel weird about you making me watch Rain Man. Thanks.
Oh, I mean, honestly, looking at the list of all our movies, there are a lot of movies by canceled
people. Oh, of course, most of them. Is Tom Cruise canceled yet?
I don't think so, interestingly.
Scientology doesn't get you canceled instantly?
It should. Should be an insta-cancel.
Yeah.
But, nah. I mean, speaking of Tom Cruise, though, this might be his best performance.
Oh, my God.
He was born to play like a douchey 80s bro.
Yeah, that is true.
He's so good in the role.
He wasn't nominated, though, huh?
I don't think so, no.
No, I was just looking through that. I didn't see. Yeah, I thought he did a great job. He came across as the sleazy salesman, dickhead kid from across the lake, the bully.
Yeah, the sleazy liar guy. Like, what even is that operation he's running at the start of this movie? I couldn't even figure it out. He's like he's like selling cars to people, but doesn't have them to sell. He's just selling them and then buying them once they've been sold.
This kind of brings me to what my major point about this movie is, and my major problem with it. Because almost all my notes are about this.
Great.
And I wrote big on my sheet, movie opening. The tone of this movie is insane to me. The score doesn't match what's going on.
The score is bonkers.
The movie opens. There's a car flying through the sky, and I'm like, is Rain Man a sci-fi? I thought there was a flying car. Didn't know what was going on. And then this ridiculous song starts playing, Aiko Aiko or whatever, which is like, starts singing about grandmas and stuff. And I have no idea what this movie's going to be about at this point in time. And I'm like, this is some weird, upbeat, funky sci-fi type thing.
Yeah. The score is so strange. I had a lot of notes about the score as well, because I was like, it's all this like Afro-Caribbean, Latin, pan flute, new age weirdness. So the one thing I could find about it is that Barry Levinson, the director, told Hans Zimmer to avoid using strings because he was like, I don't want this to be sentimental. This movie will be too sentimental and schmaltzy if you use strings in the score. So somehow that turned into like these like new agey pan flutes, but
oh my god,
it was weird. It's weird. I don't understand it.
Yeah, the whole tone in general is off to me, and I was like, while watching the movie with Tom Cruise being like this asshole character as the main character, it felt weird like wanting to watch this movie at all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would anyone go out of their way and see this movie? Like, what is the redeeming quality of this movie? I mean, obviously there's like some character development and great acting, but like the idea of this movie does not seem interesting at all to me.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I also had a note that was like the first 30 minutes of this movie have like no likable characters.
None. No, it's awful. And I'm like, why would this be your favorite movie? It's like not interesting at all. I would never watch this movie again. I wouldn't. But then I was like, well, let me watch the trailer to see what people saw in the movie. And the trailer comes across like it's a comedy.
That's true.
They take like every silly moment that Raymond says in the movie, turn it into like this gag reel over some funky music again, and make it seem like it's going to be like this upbeat, funny movie. Right. And it's not, or maybe it was supposed to be.
No,
I don't know.
No, it's a drama.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the trailer really makes it seem like it's going to be very funny when it's not. Yeah. In fact, some of the moments in the trailer that are played for laughs are actually pretty upsetting in context.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God.
But, you know, the other thing about people wanting to see this movie is that it did really badly when it opened. Its opening weekend, it did horribly. And it was just through word of mouth that it started to do better until it eventually moved up to the #1 spot and then became the highest grossing movie of the year. Because people were telling everyone, like, you have to go see this movie. I know it doesn't sound that interesting, but I promise it is.
And they're like, it's about some eccentric guy working his way up in some
the establishment.
The establishment.
Yeah, that's what everyone thought it was.
Nurses are mind blown at the time. Like,
nurses hate this one weird disability.
So going back to Tom Cruise being super unlikable, beginning to end, I don't think his transformation went far enough at all. He's also still an asshole.
The only thing that triggers him to even start being nice to his brother is just that he realizes he can manipulate him into making money by counting cards.
And then at some point he's like, oh, I really like him. I'm like, when did that happen?
Well, yeah, like at what point? Like when he won you like a bunch of money? You tricked him into illegal gambling, and then now you love your brother?
And his relationship with his fiance was super uncomfortable. I was so like,
toxic.
This woman's got some sort of Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
Like,
I was
my God.
I had a note that was like, good thing she is so kind and patient and caring and also has nothing better to do, apparently.
Yeah.
Like, what is she doing with this guy?
I'm like, she's great. Like this, like, beautiful, kind, and like with the French accent. I'm like, how is Tom Cruise like with this person being such a terrible person? It's the 80s.
It is the 80s. There's a lot of
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, well, that's actually something I noted as well watching it this time that I didn't pick up on when I was in high school because I didn't have enough experience with abusive relationships. But now watching movie,
Wow.
Watching this movie, it's like, wow, Tom Cruise is just a master manipulator, abuser, and kind of the main conflict between him and Raymond when they first meet is that he can't manipulate Raymond. Like Tom Cruise has all these strategies for how to, emotionally manipulate people or overpower them or talk over them and get them to do what he wants. But none of that works on Raymond, and he gets so fucking angry because of it.
Oh my God. So there's a part where he freaks out and stops the car, and it was about a conversation they're having about buying underwear for Raymond. And Raymond's like, I need to go to Kmart in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
It felt like Tom Cruise's character was getting trolled so hard. And I just loved it so much.
Yeah.
It was the best part.
I also had a note about that scene, which was who chose that Tom Cruise wears tighty whities and Raymond wears boxers?
Well,
that
makes you seen Risky
sense.
Business?
That's
his iconic look.
I haven't, but I do know what you're talking about.
Okay.
But regardless, ignoring cultural context, in the context of this movie, the character that Tom Cruise is playing would absolutely not be the one wearing tighty whities of the two in that car.
I think tighty whities at the time weren't looked at the way they are now. I think boxers are more like this thing that you wore at the hospital or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they are what they are now.
I feel like even in 1988, boxers would be cooler than tighty whities.
I don't know. I felt like that transformation happened when I was in high school.
Oh, that's when you stopped wearing tighty whities? Was it high school?
Listen, we're not talking about my underwear here. I was a big Risky Business fan. So what came first?
I guess I'd be interested in knowing the timeline, but I would be willing to guess that I don't think boxers were ever really considered dorky.
You don't have this in your trivia, like the timeline of tighty whities and boxers? Like,
no, I unfortunately don't. But Raymond is a guy who's got like a pocket protector and pens in his pocket at all times.
Was that cool?
You really think he's just going to be letting his nuts dangle like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Also, he would have had to transition into that at some point from childhood, right? Like kids, little children, when they transition out of diapers, you're not putting them into boxers, right? And Raymond famously hates change. I just don't buy that he would switch to boxers later in life.
Here's my experience with boxers. And when I was a kid, everyone wore whitey tighties, like my dad and everyone.
Yes.
The only person I know who wore boxers was my Pepe, my grandfather, who was always in the hospital, and all of his boxers were from the hospital. That's why I had that take on it. I don't know why, but that's what I associated boxers with until sometime, maybe it was middle school or high school, when people started wearing boxers instead of tighty whities, and then you found out, oh, tighty whities aren't cool anymore. I have to switch. But with Raymond being someone who is under medical care all the time, that made sense to me. But I don't know why
he's not dressed in like hospital.
No, he's not
clothing. He's wearing his own clothes, and he's talking about going to Kmart to buy these boxers. Fair. And he also didn't go in there like for medical treatment. He was just like moved out of the house because he like almost like drowned his brother or something. I don't know. But that's the other really fucking weird thing about this movie is that the entire movie rests on this premise that like nobody in Tom Cruise's life ever told him he had a brother, and he also has no memories from before he was like 8 years old.
Yeah, that's insane.
He has zero recollection of his brother except that he remembers an imaginary friend. And then his parents, I guess, just gaslit him and were like, no, Rain Man was never real.
Was Rain Man his imaginary friend?
Yeah. Did you not pick up on
Look,
that?
I fell asleep halfway through this movie. No, I thought Rain Man came from him accidentally saying Raymond wrong.
Yeah, that's correct. But remember, he was like, oh, when I was younger and I was crying, the Rain Man would come and sing to me. And he's like, well, I never knew who the Rain Man was. And then he realizes, oh, it was Raymond. Raymond would come sing to me when I was
Do you think they went a little hard on that Rain Man thing, having too many connections to Rain Man because he also doesn't go out when it rains. Like he's almost like a comic book like character who's like fully based around rain.
Yeah, his kryptonite is rain.
The Rain Man came and sang to me
and counted toothpicks. What do you think of that?
About him counting things?
The counting toothpicks scene is something I've seen parodied a lot.
Look, I don't recognize any reference from this movie. You said I would, and I didn't recognize it.
Wait, whoa. The casino scene? You didn't recognize that?
What was it?
I've seen it parodied in so many things, but like The Hangover is probably the most prominent one.
I guess I just didn't realize it was...
When they bring Zach Galifianakis into the casino, they go down the escalator in suits and Zach Galifianakis is standing there with that posture. Like it's a 1-to-1 parody of this movie.
Did not know that.
I've also seen it parodied on Aquafina's show, Nora from Queens.
Huh.
Yeah, lots and lots of stuff. That's crazy that you've never...
Well, I just assumed counting cards was like a thing. I didn't realize it was from Rain Man.
Counting cards is a thing.
Yeah.
But the part that's from Rain Man is like when they're coming down the escalator in suits.
People never came down escalators in suits before that?
No.
They're just too small to be big things to me. Like, I was talking to my friend Dan about, and I was like, I don't recognize anything. And he's like, what about when he does this thing where he's like, yeah, and he does a little twitch. And I'm like, I thought people were just being offensive. And like,
oh, God.
And I'm like, people shouldn't be quoting that. Like,
yeah, probably hard to quote that movie. But yeah, people did quote that for a while.
I didn't realize it was a Rain Man thing. I thought people were just being dicks.
Yeah. It's also really weird to me that with the casino stuff, there's like all these women throwing themselves at Raymond. Firstly, he's not exhibiting any kind of sexual energy at all. Secondly,
really? You didn't get that?
Like, oh, you were just like furiously masturbating through the whole movie?
Yeah, I was like...
The wild sexual chemistry pouring off Dustin Hoffman and Rain Man.
Oh, man. I thought it was great. Sexual icon.
But it's also just like so clear that this man is incapable of giving consent. Like he can barely have a conversation, and these women are just like firstly, the woman at the bar who ostensibly is a sex worker, but it's just like she's chatting him up and he's giving her nothing, and she seems completely unaware that there's anything amiss. And then she gets mad at Tom Cruise when he comes over and says something. And he's like, fine, maybe I'll go over here and wait.
She probably just moonlights as a sex worker. She's probably a nurse in her regular job.
Yeah, and has no idea what autism is.
Yeah.
But yeah, then the Tom Cruise's girlfriend like stopping the elevator to
kiss him?
Yeah, and I also just don't buy that he wouldn't have a freak out when she grabs his neck and kisses him. Like, it just felt too movie sentimentality kind of thing of like, we want to give the audience a cute little moment, even though it's not true to the character.
Like, y'all do not need to fuck Dustin Hoffman. Like, we get it.
Although one thing I will say in this movie's credit, and this is the last place where Dustin Hoffman interfered, is that the ending, I think, is admirable in the fact that it doesn't go for the heartwarming ending. Like, the brothers do just split up. Dustin Hoffman just goes home and that's it. Like, they have a nice little moment where they touch foreheads and that's it.
Oh, yeah. It was so off to me that I didn't know it was about to end. Like, because in my mind, Tom Cruise still has a long way to go. Like,
he does, yeah.
And I thought they were going to continue. He hasn't learned anything. He's like, I kind of like him to stick around and make me some more money.
Pretty much. But Dustin Hoffman fought for that ending. He was like, no, Raymond wouldn't stay in LA. He would go home. Wow. Which I think is true to the character.
Yeah, because if he stayed in LA any longer, he's getting pounced on by women.
Yeah.
Like,
seriously. I mean, the like 6 hours he was in Las Vegas, he was already sexually assaulted once in an elevator.
So, what do you think I rated that movie?
Okay, so before recording this episode, I would have guessed that you would have given this movie like a 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10.
Now after talking about it, I would guess that you would give it a 5 out of 10. Maybe a 6.
That's fair.
I think you admire the craft of the movie even if you don't understand why it exists.
I mean, I kind of understand. Now I have background to it, but...
That's true. But it seems like your impression of the movie was like...
Why watch this?
Yeah, like, what? This is just like two schmucks in a car.
Yeah, like, that's how I felt. That's really tough. Like, I don't want to rate this movie low because I admire that they did make this movie at that time. Yeah. Even though now I feel like it's irrelevant. But... yeah. And I feel like it's not pleasurable to watch in any way.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
So like I appreciate that this movie was made and did well at the time, but like I don't like it now. Like I would never watch it again. I would never recommend it to someone unless they haven't seen it and they think it's about some weirdly eccentric guy.
It's a smart guy with the establishment.
Yeah.
But you're thinking of A Beautiful Mind, right?
Yeah, which I don't even know. Is that
Russell Crowe?
Russell Crowe, yeah, I was about to say that. I get so many movies confused because I haven't seen them or have only seen them once. Yeah. I feel like Rain Man, Beautiful Mind, Good Will Hunting, and Requiem for a Dream all are blending together in my mind right now.
You also got Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind confused with Requiem for a Dream.
That's what it was.
Very different films. Good Will Hunting. Yeah, I guess I could see how Good Will Hunting, how you would lump that in with most of those.
Well, I've never seen it. So I assume he's just some eccentric smart guy who like does some math on a chalkboard, works his way up in the organization.
Pretty much. Actually, that movie is really not that dissimilar from Rain Man. It's a little bit like Rain Man without Raymond.
Right. How close is it to Dogma? Because that's more my type of movie.
Not at all.
Oh, man. Well, then who plays God? If not Alanis Morissette.
Well, Alanis Morissette's always playing God. She's just off screen.
That's fair.
So what would you give Rain Man now out of 10?
That's hard. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like looking back at history and judging them based on now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This movie.
Yeah.
My personal preference for this movie... 4 out of 10. Right in between yours.
Wow. 4 out of 10.
Like, yeah. I don't particularly like that ending. I didn't find it enjoyable at all. You know what I mean? Like, watching Tom Cruise for that long just be an asshole kind of just felt like I was reading comments on Facebook and just making myself mad for no reason. Like, it didn't... I mean, it's successful in doing that, but I don't like that feeling.
Yeah, I hear. One of my notes actually just says this movie is genuinely upsetting at times.
Yeah, it is.
Because Tom Cruise is so awful, and as I mentioned, rewatching it now, I can really see how much of a manipulator and abuser he is. But also, then Raymond is just like having a tough time through the whole movie. He doesn't want to be there. The entire movie is against his will. He's a captive.
Yeah.
It's pretty upsetting.
It is. When I told Amelia I was going to be watching this movie, she's like, that's all you. Like, I wouldn't watch that movie again. She said to me.
Oh, she's like, seen it.
It makes me uncomfortable, she said.
Yeah, that's fair.
Glad I've seen it now. That way I can correctly describe what it is in case it comes up again.
Now you'll spot all the references when people go down an escalator in a suit in a casino. You'll be like, oh, that's Rain Man.
Yeah, I would have assumed it was like Ocean's 11 or something.
Ocean's 11 probably has a Rain Man parody in it.
That's fair. They do. I think they use stairs, not escalators.
That would make sense.
They're classic.
A little wider. You get the blocking right.
So thanks for making me watch that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Next time you get to choose what to make me watch.
Ooh, I got to think long and hard about that one. Yeah. So how do we end these things?
I was just going to try and give a little wrap up.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Thanks for listening. Smash that subscribe button.
YouTube? do podcasts like things have subscribe buttons?
Yeah, they do. You subscribe to podcasts. I mean, the thing is, we're
That's fair.
so early. Who even knows how we're even going to be releasing this? So I guess
Yeah,
we'll just say goodbye to Amelia and Jeremy.
Yep.
Thank
Smash
you for
those
listening.
buttons. You too.
Smash.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time when Mike chooses something for me to watch.
Oh, it's gonna be good.
It's probably not. It's gonna be.
It's gonna
dirty.
be. It's gonna be dirty for sure.
It's gonna be dirty birdie.
Yeah, I'm just having you watch straight porn. Oh, you've never seen it?
Oh, you've never seen Debbie Does Dallas?
Oh,
It's an
God.
all-time classic.
We're just gonna be unpacking the fappening online live. It's gonna be...
Oh God. Then we're
gonna get canceled so quick.
Yeah. All right. Well, tune in next time when we get canceled. Bye.
Bye.
Culture Gap.